So that's what a Wotever Talk is, and tonight, I don't know if many of you are comic book fans. I'm a massive, ow, that really hurt. I'm a massive comic book fan, so think of tonight as an origin story. Those of you that don't know, in comics, when you have a character and then you have a story that's like the beginning of them, the genesis of them, where they came from and how they are as fabulous as they are right now. Tonight, we have Sue, Liam's mum, telling you the origin story of Liam.
Hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Right. I'm here to tell you what it's like to, as a parent, to have a child that comes out as trans. I'm going to talk a bit about Liam when he was younger, and when I talk about him as a child, I'm still going to call him Liam and I still use male pronouns. The reason for that is because to think of him by his birth name and using female pronouns is just totally weird. It just doesn't fit. So he's Liam. He always has been Liam. Now, I first heard those words, Mum, I'm trans, when he was 23. He'd been at university and had come home for a weekend, told me he wanted to tell me something important, and they were his words. I immediately had two questions. The first one, why now? If you knew you were trans, why didn't you tell me it before? To which he replied, I've known things haven't been right, but I didn't really know what it was. So now I know, I'm telling you. The second question, what can I do? How can I help you? How can we travel this journey together? There was no question in my mind that Liam was doing the right thing. He was so sure of his decision, so sure that he'd thought it through. Now, there's an organisation called Gendered Intelligence, and Liam had had some dealings with the youth group. So what he did was he got one of the leaders to come down to the house and talk to me about the things I wanted to know. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Right. Now, when this guy came down from Gendered Intelligence, it wasn't because I needed any reassuring, because I didn't have any doubts, and I was behind Liam 110%. But I wanted to know the ins and outs. How do I help him get on hormones? How do I help him get surgery? What's the right path to follow? How, who do we see? Who do we ask? Where do I find more information? And it was really, really helpful to me. And I must admit, I think I was more impatient than Liam to get the ball rolling. And it was like, this is your dream, let's see what I can do to help you fulfill it. And as a parent, that was very important to me. Now, I did have a really massive change of emotions. The first emotion that actually hit me was guilt. I spent a long time feeling really, really guilty because I felt that as a mum I should have noticed earlier. I should have picked up on the signs. Yes, Liam was a real tomboy when he was younger, and then a very, very moody teenager. And I felt that as a mum I should have noticed those things and maybe asked him to, what was wrong? Is there something that, you want to explore? But I didn't. I just sort of thought, oh, it's hormones, it's just Liam being Liam. And so I felt quite guilty because I felt I'd let him down. But he reassured me and said, Mum, although I knew I was different, I didn't really know what it was about me that was different, what I needed to do to make myself happy. So once he reassured me of that, I was able to stop beating myself up and move on. So the next emotion I actually felt was pride. Because I've got 3 children, and I've got 4 grandchildren, and I'm proud of each and every one of them for all different reasons. But I suddenly had this amazing son who was strong enough to live his life as the person he was always meant to be. There was no, oh, I'll just pretend, you know, I'll just be this person now and that person later. He was straight in there, I'm Liam, and this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And he was very open with me. Now, when he was this moody teenager who was very, very withdrawn, I had no more physical contact, so the hugs from childhood, you know, that I still have with my older children, other children, I didn't have throughout the teenage years. There was no eye contact, there was no pride in his appearance, and I have to be quite honest that looking at Liam as a teenager was like, well, don't you care about yourself, you know? It just was not right. The minute that Liam actually came out, I suddenly had to fight for the bathroom. I had to share my hairdryer and my hairspray, and things became very, very different very quickly. Liam was proud of who he was, and he took a great pride in his appearance and in becoming himself and finding his own style of clothing and whatever, what he was comfortable in, instead of hiding away. And that was very important. That was a really good journey because it made me see that there was no doubt that he's doing the right thing. And it's just a shame that it took him till he was 23 to realise that. Now, we've spoken quite a lot over the last couple of years because Liam and I have become very close, which is really nice. And he said that when he was 7, or about 7, when he was at school, it was the first inkling he had that he was different. Now, Liam's junior school, he was actually the 2nd best defender in the whole school. So all the boys wanted him to play football with them. And so every break time, every dinner time, he was out there on the field playing football. And he said he looked across one day at the huddle of girls, as they do at that age. They huddle together, or they skip, or, you know, play their little girly games. And he said, I looked across at them, and I thought, I'm a girl, I should be with them. But this feels right. Oh, well, I'll just carry on playing football. And that was how he continued. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you some photos. And you will see, which surprised me actually when I look back at them, that actually Liam did look like a young boy when he was going through his tomboy phase. And I was quite happy for him to have short hair, which he wanted, and to have, you know, the sort of clothing that he enjoyed was very androgynous, and, you know, it didn't bother me because with all of my children, if they've wanted to play with cars or dolls or anything, they've been allowed to. I don't believe that you should influence a child's toys, you know, their decision. If they want to play with something, as long as it's safe, then that's fine. And Liam always preferred books and football and cars and action figures to any of the girly stuff that his sister before him had had. So all these dolls plans and dolls I'd saved went to waste. But that was his choice. So when he was a tomboy, I didn't mind, I didn't object to that, because that was just him being who he wanted to be. Anyway, I'm just going to show you a few photos, just so you can, sorry Liam, so that you can get an idea. Now, this was Liam's very first fancy dress competition. And he didn't want to dress me to make him anything girly, so I made him a noddy costume. He didn't want me to take his photograph though. Moving on to the next one. This was the nativity scene. He didn't want to dress up in anything but the donkey costume at the nativity. So that was who he was. And again on the next one, there he is as his donkey, showing off his tail. Moving on again, this was one of his dressing up costumes, the Ninja Turtles. He loved the Ninja Turtles and was much happier to dress up in something like that. Liam was never interested in fairy costumes and princess dresses. Maybe now it might be a different matter, but who knows, that's another story. The next couple of photos you'll see, here he is with his younger sister. Now, he was quite proud at this time because he was taller than his younger sister, but she now towers above him. He had his short hair, as you can see, and that was fine. That was who, he was comfortable with short hair. Another couple moving on. We were away on holiday. It does look rather like he's got a glass of wine and a cigarette, but I can assure you it's a lollipop stick in his mouth, and I think that was a soft drink. Now, Liam supported football. He loved playing football and he supported Arsenal, and I believe he still does. He always had the latest football kit because his birthday's in the summer. When they bought the new kit out, that was what he'd have for his birthday. And many a times he'd go out with his football shirt, and people often said to me, oh, your boy's looking very, very nice today. Now, this last photo of the two of them, they both had football kit because Hayley followed Liam's footsteps for a while. If he's got football kit, I want it too. And she's already catching up with him in height there. But when they were this age, they actually got accosted in a ladies' toilet to be told off for using a ladies' toilet because somebody thought they were two little boys. Now, as time's gone on, obviously Liam is coming out into a very, very confident, sociable, outgoing young man. And this is something... okay. This is something that I'm very proud of. And there are just 3 more photos to show him as he is today. And this is Liam. This is, he's doing things he believes in. And he's posing, the next one. And the last one is just showing how smart he actually looks when he needs to be. Now, I'd like to say to any parents that are listening to me today, if you have a child that comes to you and says, I'm questioning my gender, or I've questioned it and I am trans, don't turn your child away. Support them and love them just the same as you would if they changed something else. For example, if you had a child that had gone through college and gone through university studying to be a doctor, and at the end of their course they actually thought, I don't like being a doctor, it's not really what I want to do, and they go off and become a road sweeper, surely as a mum or as a parent, you'd still love your child. It doesn't matter that they've changed direction from a doctor to a road sweeper. At the end of the day, your child is your child, and to me, there is no question you should still love your children. Now, I know it's hard for some people to accept. My only difficulty I found was that at the very beginning, I did sometimes slip up and use his birth name, and I did sometimes use female pronouns. But that was just a genuine error. When you're used to calling somebody a name for sort of 23 years, it's just habit. But I soon became accustomed to Liam and the him and he. And as I say now, that's all I think of him. I look at these photos of him as a child, and it's Liam. Now, because of my contact now with gendered intelligence, I realise that there are quite a lot of parents out there that don't find it as easy as I did. So with another mum, we've set up an online support group for parents of people who are questioning their gender or who have already started to transition. And I just say, if you're listening to me now and you are struggling with coming to terms with it, get in touch with us through the organisation, because we can help you, we can support you. Because at the end of the day, as I say, you just have to stop and think, my child is my child. Finally, I just want to say thank you to Liam, because since Liam came out, I have met a lot of trans and gay people that I would probably never have actually come into contact with. Now, in all my life, I've never, ever judged somebody by the colour of their skin, their religion, their race, their sexuality or their gender. But I have met so many wonderful people, even though as I say, I've never had a problem with it. Through coming into circles such as here, I have met some amazing people and I hope to meet many more. And this journey that Liam started when he was 23, it's a journey for both of us. We're travelling it together because we're learning new things all the time. I'm learning how there are people out there who are prejudiced, and that is so sad. And I want to go out and shout from the rooftops, Liam is my son and he's trans. The same as I would shout from the rooftops about how proud I am of my daughters. So I don't understand the prejudice, but I know there's a lot of it out there. And I just like to say, please, please think carefully before you hurt somebody by words.
So we're now going to do a bit of Q&A, so does anyone have any questions, comments, queries for Sue? Is that a hand up, CJ?
Can you adopt me?
Okay.
Anyone else want to be adopted by Sue? No.
I just want to say, do you think it's different? Sorry, can you hear me now? I'm an only child, so I know it's not a massive thing, but it's quite different from my mum, especially when I've come out gay. Do you think for a parent, obviously, if there's other siblings involved, you've got different people to fill the roles that a mother kind of projects. Do you think it's different from an only child perspective for a mother?
I don't think so, because you can have, say, three girls, 3 boys, whatever. It doesn't mean that your life is going to go along the plan of, oh, I've got daughters, oh, they're going to give me grandchildren.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if your mum's struggling, obviously you can always put her in touch with me. But sometimes I think it's just people need to learn a little bit more about it. If maybe put it to her that if you'd have developed an illness that she didn't know anything about, if she researched that illness, she'd understand it more.
Yeah.
So maybe suggest to her that she, you know, maybe you could help her do that, but you could look at that information together, and maybe that would just help her come to accept it a little bit easier.
Okay, so is there, because you said there's a possibility of like, you have like a way that can speak to you directly. Is there any, because when you sort of look online, there's lots of information for individuals that are trans, but for the people involved, like the parents, the siblings, the friends, the girlfriends and boyfriends, that sort of thing, there isn't so much available. What's the best route to go, do you think, for that?
For people who are under 25 and under, of course, they can become involved themselves with the youth group at Gendered Intelligence, and then of course their family and friends can become involved and find out information that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at this moment, I don't know what else is available out there. Which is why, you know, my friend and I have set up this online support group, but it is done via Gendered Intelligence, so they can only get onto it if they're accepted through there.
Okay, so they're going to have to sort of apply to it, sort of thing.
Yeah, just to sort of apply for the to go onto the Gendered Intelligence website.
Yeah, because it's a shame there's not so much, because obviously when you come out gay, even to come out gay to parents is quite a big thing, and there's a lot of negativity you can receive in that, but to come out trans is at a whole other level. It's still very new. So
yes, yeah.
There's not so much.
There's not so much information, and I think
some people can get a lot of. Some people could even be like abused for it, or being kicked out of home, or anything like that. It can be all sorts of negativity, which people need to realise it might not be very easy to do that step. And like obviously you're fantastic with your response, but a lot of parents wouldn't have that.
I do understand that, and I would like to see a lot more help and support out there for parents, because, as I say, I've come across parents that are struggling.
It's just as hard for them because it's something new as well, so each
Yeah.
person's got to come into it. You know.
I mean, if you look back many years, when people first came out as gay, there was a lot of, oh, shock, horror, you know, or perhaps they grow out of it, things like that. So, whereas now it's a lot more accepting, so I'm hoping that a lot more people will become more accepting of people who are trans.
Yeah, so you think GI is the best way, gender intelligence is the best way to sort of go for parents?
For parent support, yes, I think that's a good start, start.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I would like to say, I would like to ask.
Oh, one second, I've got someone up here.
It's alright, I got it from here.
Oh, you've got a mic.
I've got a mic. I've always got a mic. Just to say that for young people themselves, gender intelligence is a fantastic resource. Other resources available for children up to the age of about 18, there's Mermaids. And that's actually a great parent resource as well. They do a lot of work with parents of kids. It's mostly parent-led, parent-run. For young people up to the age of 25, there's Queer Youth Network, that's national. They've been going for donkey's years. For adults, it tends to be more sort of regional-based stuff. So I don't really have a comprehensive list. And I wish GI had been doing stuff for parents when I first came out, because my mum struggled.
And Albert Kennedy worked with some trans youth, don't they?
Yeah, for that specific issue.
But that's around housing
Yeah.
and crisis.
Hi, Sue. First, I thought you were amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing with all of us. I wanted to ask, like, I maybe I missed that bit, but Liam came out as trans, and how did you find him coming out as queer? Did you expect in any way him to feel like the stereotype of a man, you know, or you okay with him sort of being fluid and being able to, you know, explore things?
I was totally okay with it. I mean, maybe it's just the way I was brought up to, you know, to accept everybody for who they are. My parents obviously, you know, always taught me that. To me, as long as my children are happy, and that goes for all three of them, as long as they're happy, then I don't have any problems. As long as they're not harming anybody in anything they do, then, you know, it's not something that actually bothered me, because it's more important that Liam is happy with his sexuality than, you know, to conform to what other people think he should be.
I never use a microphone. Hello. I think you are really inspiration. I have to say, I have never come across a mother who stand up there and say, I'm proud of my child, I want to accept my child, and I want you all to know to change. You are a change of the world.
Thank you.
Inspiration. I applaud you. I stood up and I don't speak all the time because I don't like my voice. But I say for you, you're inspiration.
Thank you.
I quite enjoyed your description, but I just want to ask, because based on what you said, obviously, it seems that you know, looking at his childhood as well, it seems that he's quite obvious that, you know, he's got. I mean, if you review his childhood, it seems quite obvious that he's you know, trans in some way. But I just wonder. You know, and I hope the question is not intrusive anyway. But suppose if his childhood is not so obvious in such a way, I mean, as in, you know, maybe he was more like a typical girl, you know, when he was younger, and so would you have accepted him being trans as easily?
Yes, because just as a matter of point, actually, my youngest daughter, when she was about 7 or 8, she actually spoke of wanting to be a boy. And at the time, it actually turned out that it was just simply because she looked upon Liam, her older sibling, as acting like a boy, so she wanted to do the same. But I remember turning around to my GP at the time and said, if I have a child, at this point, not even thinking of Liam, because I just accepted Liam as a tomboy, if I have a child who's been born in the wrong body, then when the time's right, I want to do something about it. So, to me, if Liam had presented totally as female for 23 years and then turned around and said, actually, you know, I am male, I would still have accepted it, because Liam would have had, he's got his own mind, and you know, it was still something that I would support him through and would have helped him to fulfil his dream.
Hi there. I know that some time ago you came to Bar Wotever, like shyly coming in through the door, together with Liam, to check where he was hanging, so to speak. Do you think that is a good way for people? Because I think that was really brave and really cool of Liam to take you with him, to show where he normally go out and his kinds of friends and things like that. Did that help, or you know, would you recommend that?
I certainly would not recommend it, if you know what I mean. I've found from the very first time I came here, and the reason I came the first time was I wanted to meet some of Liam's friends. I didn't know a lot of his friends because I don't live in London, and Liam's social life is all based, you know, a lot of it is based in London, and even before he was living here, when he was living at home. So I wanted to meet some of his friends. I wanted to see these people who made him happy, really, you know, who he socialised with. He'd talk about people, because once he came out, as I say, he emerged from being this sullen, withdrawn, moody person to this person who was so confident and outgoing and was able to talk to me, and we built this amazing relationship that we can talk to one another, which I think you should always have anyway with your children, but I'd lost it for a few years with him. So coming here was just the next step, really, just to, you know, to meet his friends, and I've made friends through that. And I think it's important, as long as you come here with an open mind and you're not coming here to judge anybody, it is amazing that everybody is made so welcome, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. And, you know, so I thank you all for making me feel that way from the very first time I came.
Does anyone else have a question?
So you talked about this being a journey for both of you. I'm just wondering what the most important thing you've learned so far is.
I think the most important thing is probably the fact that, I don't know how to put it quite into words to explain it properly, but I think it's more the fact that regardless of what other people think, you should be true to yourself. And because I've seen Liam be true to himself, that's made me start to think more about being true to myself, and I think that covers all walks of life. So,
give a massive round of applause for Cynthia.